All right, welcome back. So kickoff in Panama coming up in just a few minutes between the US and Panama. So final thoughts at this point, Charlie, what are you looking for?
I'm looking for Kellen Acosta to step up and fill the void that you're going to have when Tyler Adams is on the bench. So he's got to protect the back four, especially on the road, breaking up those counterattacks, because Panama, they like to go forward. In transition, they're very direct. They have to be. So I got to see Kellen Acosta complete the passes, make the right decisions, and break up the plays.
I think a lot of guys are going to show that they're hungry. They're fighting for a place in this team. I thought he did a good job of mixing up the lineup because it's a lot of games in a short amount of time. I think if you get to half and it's 0-0, although I would like to see him get a goal in the first half, I think Berhalter, especially in the away games, if you look at the last away game, did make the right subs to get the goals that you needed to win the game. So like when Mo said, if we can get 3 points, that'd be huge.
I'm looking for defensive stability. Right now that you're playing away, you have to keep a 0 right now. That's the most important from the defense to give confidence to the offense to get those opportunities. So defensive stability for 90 minutes, and I think we have a good chance in this game.
Obviously, this game is happening in Panama. It's an away game. It's one of the things that we always talk about when we're talking about CONCACAF and World Cup qualifying. How does Panama compare as an environment, a playing environment, to some of these other CONCACAF countries?
It's difficult to play in Panama. It's difficult to play in any of these countries. Panama has a very athletic, very fast, very strong team, and especially on the counter. So it's going to be no different than the atmosphere that you're going to encounter in Honduras or in El Salvador. It's going to be very pro-Panama, very anti-American, but I think we have a good team to get through this.
But saying that, we haven't lost there. That gives you confidence. You go in here, you get a point to 3 points, and you're flying. I think it is going to be a difficult environment. I think Panama knows what's online here after losing to El Salvador, and this is a huge game for them at home. Yeah. And they're a team that has qualified for the World Cup before. They have that quality. This is going to be our first test of playing a team that has qualified during this World Cup qualifying cycle, and see what we're made of.
All right, so the national anthems are coming up very shortly indeed. We don't want to miss those, so we're going to hand you out to listening to those.
Unidos, seguido del himno nacional de Panamá. Y ahora nos ponemos de pie para cantar a todo pulmón las gloriosas notas del himno nacional de Panamá.
Say we
Okay, with that done, kickoff is now just moments away at the Estadio Rommel Fernandez in Panama City. We're going to take you over to our team that is calling tonight's game, Dre Cordero and Mo Adu.
Well, there's a moment the two Nashville SC teammates captaining the two respective sides tonight as Panama and the United States just moments from kickoff. Two nations whose World Cup qualifying fortunes have been directly at odds for about a decade, but without a doubt the biggest day in both national teams' recent history coming 4 years ago today. A famous night for the Canaleros, infamous for the Stars and Stripes, as Panama punched their ticket to a first ever World Cup finals at the expense of the United States. And Mo, a lot of the buildup going into this one has been about the ups and downs of the United States. A slow start in the first window, but seeming to be rolling at the moment, and big changes for both.
Yeah, well, they came off of a really important and convincing performance against Jamaica in that first game. This is a window where you have two home games, so it was so important to start off on the right foot, not just from a result standpoint, but a performance standpoint. Now they come on the road. It's a little bit more difficult playing in an environment where you know what to expect from this kind of fan base, and you see the fans there out in numbers. This is going to be a tough experience for this group of players, but I think they'll be up for the task.
Let's take a look at the starting lineups. We'll give you a look at Greg Berhalter's 11 with only 4 players repeating from Thursday's 2-0 win against Jamaica in Austin. Matt Turner, Zimmerman, Musa, and Arriola keep their spots. Shaq Moore earning his first World Cup qualifying start. So too does Tim Weah after a positive performance off the bench.
And Tim Weah, it's so good to see him back in the fold because he's a different profile. You saw him come into the game against Jamaica and just be dynamic, be direct, taking players on, looking for him to do much more of that today. And then George Bello slotting in at left back, looking for him to have a big performance because it's going to be so important to deny the service from wide areas of this Panamanian side.
Well, Panamanian authorities opening up the stadium, which has a capacity of about 32,000, with 24,000 expected for this one. And big history in the lead up to both Brazil 2014 and Russia 2018 between these two CONCACAF rivals. There's the Mexican official for this one tonight, Cesar Arturo Ramos. And the ball rolls in Panama City. Match day 5 in the final round of CONCACAF's World Cup qualifiers. Alongside Mo Adu, I'm Andres Cordero. The U.S. in white against a veteran Panama who sit 4th on the qualifying table. The United States top of the table with 8 points. Expected to be physical tonight, and an early whistle from the Mexican official. 8 of the players in the starting 11 for Thomas Christensen tonight have started every single one of the 5 matches in this final octagonal. 8 of the players were also part of that first ever Panamanian World Cup side. It's Godoy. Orlando Blackburn. It was momentarily won back by Sebastian Lletget, but a whistle will give the ball back to the Canaleros. There's Christensen, the Spanish-born, rather Danish-born Spanish international. 2 caps for the Red Fury. Big moment for George Bello in this match, his second start in World Cup qualifying, as Matt Turner gets this one away. Dangerously whipped in. Zimmerman's there to deal with it as the Panamanian 11 scrolls at the bottom of your screen. 2 changes from the loss in El Salvador. Former Columbus and Chicago midfielder Christian Martinez stepping into that double pivot alongside Nashville's Anibal Godoy. Freddie Gondola, who's just fresh off of his first start, or rather his first appearance, makes his first start. Here's the aforementioned Gondola.
And
off the ball.
Already, Dre, you're seeing some tendencies that you can expect to see from this game. Of course, there's going to be some physicality, but this Panamanian side, they are not shy about playing direct, about getting the ball wide and then getting service in the box. We talked about some of the changes that have been made to this lineup. Well, keeping Walker Zimmerman in that back line, I think, is important for his aerial presence, being able to defend crosses and put out fires. But again, George Bello and Shaq Moore, how they're able to limit the amount of space that some of the wide players, whether it's the wingers or the fullbacks getting forward from Panama, how much time and space they had to pick their head up and play crosses in the box is going to be important.
Here's Kellen Acosta. We're in a more central position. It's taken back by Bárcenas. Bello. Here's Acosta, who's now making his 19th consecutive appearance for the United States. This is promising for the Americans. Shaq Moore. From distance is Arriola, just had it blocked by Eric Davis. Cesar Ramos seems to be blowing the whistle for contact further back. Yunus Musa slowing it up. Arriola chances Davis there to close him down quickly.
There's a good sequence there. Good early ball in from Kellen Acosta. A little depth touch there by Yunus Musa to keep the play alive. And then what we saw in the first game, the fullbacks having a chance to get forward and attack those spaces. Shaq Moore doing just that and earns a corner kick off of the shot from Paul Arriola.
So first corner, and it is Kellen Acosta. Outswinger, back post. It's not just over the bar by Zimmerman. U.S. claiming there was a tip by Luis Mejia, and they'll do it again from the opposite flag. Early flash of danger off the head of the aforementioned Zimmerman.
It's good timing. He drifts into that area. Decent ball in the box, and he makes good contact with it. We just talked about him being able to defend aerially on plays, but he can also be a threat and a presence attacking-wise.
Well, whipped in again at Zimmerman. Away by Bárcenas, but only as far as Leggett. Wea. Forced to rush the pass. He was harassed by Gondola. So it's 4 across the back for Panama, with Murillo, Escobar, Cummings, and Eric Davis, who have been the consistent back four for Christensen, playing in front of Luis Mejia. Martinez, who played under Greg Berhalter at the Columbus Crew, partners Aníbal Godoy, the captain. Quintero, Bárcenas, and Gondola are all in support of veteran striker Rolando Blackburn. Escobar. Godoy. As he's artist, who's nipping at his heels. Cummings. Pressure applied by Tim Weah. There's Murillo. A little more patience in the approach this time from the Panamanians. Here's Musa. Well, what did you make of Musa's performance against Jamaica? Seemed to be one of the main talking points coming out of that 2-0 victory.
I like him. I like Musa. I like him from his performance in the last game, especially in the second half, but even before that, in the friendlies that we saw him play, and he just, again, has a different profile, and I think he brings a nice complement to the players that we have in that midfield already. The likes of Tyler Adams and Weston McKennie. When I saw that was the 3, I thought this could be a good balanced midfield. Guys that bring different qualities to that team, and I think you really saw him come to life in the second half. He had some good moments in the first half, but he took over the second half with his ability to not just pass through lines, but to drive with the ball. And he's just, for such a young player, Dre, he's confident. He's always an option in possession, and I think he makes some really intelligent decisions on the ball.
Greg Berhalter described him as a pleaser off the pitch and a fearless player on it. This is dangerous now from Panama. It's Bárcenas. Squared in and ultimately dealt with by Shaq Moore. Moves along with Tim Weah, one of the 2 players making their first ever World Cup qualifying start for the U.S. Davis. Godoy. This weaving of the passes from Panama on this approach. Murillo. Quintero sends it wide. Quintero giving a little room to operate here. It's clipped in toward the danger area, and Matt Turner happy to collect on the bounce.
And that's where the U.S. has to be a little bit careful in how they manage that, because those are the kind of balls that Panama does want. They want to have time and space to pick their head up and try to put balls in the box. We've seen the threat that Rolando Blackburn can provide when he has service, and so although they're being smart in the way that they're just shifting and moving, trying to cut out passing lanes, at some point you have to engage the player when he's around your 18.
Here for Quintero. So Murillo gets forward. Well, the U.S. can expect a variety of crosses from many angles against this Panamanian side, and early indications are that that expectation will prove to be true. As take another look at that Aaron cross earlier. Today also marking the one-year anniversary of Thomas Christensen with the Panamanian national team. 9 wins, 5 draws, 5 losses with the Canaderos. Here's Arriola. Musa. Challenge to dispossess him from Christian Martinez, and Panama turning defense into attack now through Barcenas. Slightly away from Barcenas, who had to chase that one down, and just as well. No nonsense clearance from Musa, who puts it out for a Panama throw. Scored 4 goals so far in World Cup qualifying this last round of the qualifiers. Panama, 3 of them came against Jamaica. The other in an impressive 1-1 draw against Mexico, where perhaps Panama deserved more. That accounts for 4 of the 5 points they picked up so far. Strong challenge from Shackmore that time. Shaken up, goes Gondola. Attack continues from the Panamanians, and Quintero's shot took a slight deflection. It'll be a corner for Panama.
It's a good chance there by Panama. The U.S. have to be alert defensively, especially in transition moments. Shackmore convinced himself there a little bit early. Maybe it should have been a foul. The referee allows the play to continue.
And for good reason. It was a dangerous approach by Panama.
Quintero does well because he's not just staying wide when the ball gets into that wide channel. He's on the opposite side, but he comes in a little bit more narrow, making himself an option and a threat.
Davis, one of the most dangerous crossers on this Panama team, left it short this time. Quintero trying to flick it on. Zardes sends it away. Cross on the far side. Zimmerman is there to deal with it. Going back for Escobar, and it's a pretty steady dose of pressure being applied here by the Panamanians. That's intended for Gondola, but well dealt with by Shackmore. U.S., of course, without a trio of players who did not travel. Zach Steffen, Anthony Robinson, and Weston McKinney added to the absentee list for this second match of the October window. Or pass by Acosta given away. Moore scrambles back to collect. Many have plotted for Matt Turner last game against Jamaica for his improvement with his feet. Leggett. So Arriola makes the run. And he's picked out this time, Arriola, but a heavy touch. Escobar. It's just beyond the reach of Quintero.
That's a really good ball by George Bello. Puts Arriola in a really good position, good spacing. First touch lets him down.
Touches from Musa. This is Bello. He's deflected out by Murillo, and the U.S. have another corner kick.
It's a little bit better by the U.S. They went through a spell there where they had to weather the storm a little bit, taking on a little bit of pressure, trying to find their footing now, move the ball around, recognizing when to speed things up, to up the tempo, when there's space to exploit.
Here's Kellen Acosta to deliver once more. The two previous corners both finding the head of Walker Zimmerman. This one's put into orbit. And get it, Zimmerman back across toward the back post. Stuck with by Martinez. Also has his pocket picked by Quintero. And when he was looking to give the advantage, Cesar Ramos none materializing. It's a free kick for Panama.
A couple times now, Musa's been caught in possession. He's got to just pick his moments. Although that he has that ability, he has to pick and choose the moments when he shows that off, and other times keep the ball moving and play and move.
Dramatically different approach to rotations for these two national teams. Berhalter has focused since the Nations League back in June on figuring out just how much to rotate from game to game, while rotations mostly absent for Panama. Gondola crossed in dangerously, just beyond the reach of the arriving Blackburn. It's the best chance so far for Panama, and they've let the U.S. off the hook.
And what a chance it is. When the ball gets out wide to Gondola, we talk so much about being able to close down and deny service. The run here, though, centrally from Eric Davis, kind of keeps Shaq Moore at bay, doesn't get close enough, and it's a ball in a really dangerous area. Walker Zimmerman can do nothing when it's on the back post, and Rolando Blackburn just can't get a footing on it. He sneaks just in behind and in between Mark McKenzie and George Bello there, and I mean, the ball that was played in, that should be Panama up 1-0.
You know, there's a goal for El Salvador that has bumped Panama out of the top four on the live table. Jairo Enriquez putting the Salvadorans up a 0-0. Quintero. Murillo. Twice way of getting a touch and not able to recover. This is Martinez. Bello this time does get a foot in. Costa dispossessed. Here's Davis. Loves to cross from this angle. Zimmerman anticipates. Godoy to the near side for Davis. Cummings. Happy to reset possession to the two central defenders, Panama. And Bello will do the same to the goalkeeper, Turner. It's a good ball. Perfectly weighted from Matt Turner. Acosta finds Arriola. There's more. The U.S. have gone 7 consecutive games without scoring in the first half. They've been more of a second half team in 2021. They'd love to change that tonight.
It's kind of, you can look at it two ways. Of course, you want to start games off better. I thought against Jamaica, they were a little bit unfortunate because they did start that game off brightly. And you know what impressed me in that performance, in addition to all the things we've already talked about, is their response to the two non-red card calls. It would have been easy for them to kind of drop off and the intensity drop, or that to have a big impact on their performance. But for a young group, I thought they responded well. And to your point there, Dre, yeah, they've made changes at halftime that have come out in the second half, and whether it created a spark and more importantly scored goals. But on the road here, it's so important that they first and foremost don't concede. Grow into this game a little bit. They haven't been sharp enough on the ball when they've had chances to go forward, whether it's negative touches or just poor touches. So establish a little bit of a rhythm. Get some touches on the ball, move the ball around, move this Panamanian backside around, and then try to exploit opportunities and gaps that arise.
Gondola just jumped into the passing lane there. It's going to be a corner kick for the United States. Meanwhile, mentioned it's the 1-year anniversary of Thomas Christensen at the helm of the Canaleros. Looking for his 10th win tonight, and if he does get it, it would be the first time that Panama beat the United States in World Cup qualifying. Acosta calibrates. Outswinger, back post. It's nearest to Arriola this time, but it's Davis who wins that individual battle. Neat work from Eric Davis. Raffled into the middle by Escobar. Quintero does well to win it against Musa. Godoy. Gondola. Nice battle developing against Shaq Moore's. Gondola looking for space to cross. Swung in. Zimmerman's there at the near post. Denies Blackburn. Pitcher's ball into the area. Quintero bringing it down. Plenty of space and time, and it's clear out of the 6 by McKenzie. Davis. Well, he was expecting a run of Christian Martinez, and the run never came.
U.S. got to wake up. They got to wake up a little bit defensively. Panama's doing a good job of finding moments to get the ball and create 1v1 situations, whether it's in wide play. You see this one comes off a throw-in, and then the space that Quintero is able to create for himself here in the 18. There's 5-6 bodies around him. That's got to improve a little bit now.
Meanwhile, let's check in with the third member of our broadcast crew. Jenny Chu is pitch side for us. Jenny?
Trey, I heard you talking about Thomas Christensen. Everybody that I have spoken to here, between reporters and taxi drivers, they all use the L word. They love him. They have so much respect for what he has done for this team. He says he transformed the style of play from vertical to quote-unquote beautifully. After the El Salvador match, they were a bit upset about the lack of intensity, but it wasn't towards Christensen. It was actually towards Puma Rodriguez. He does not start. He was on the bench today. Godoy already doing much better today.
Thanks, Jenny. Rodriguez and Ayarza are getting plenty of criticism in Panama after that defeat to El Salvador. It's no nice way to say it, Mo. It's been a sloppy start for the U.S.
Yeah, it has. There have been a couple moments that early on, especially when they had chances to play forward and then a poor touch or a poor pass let them down and cause a turnover. I think the shifting in midfield's got to get a little bit better, taking a little bit casual touches. Musa in midfield and Helen Costa a couple missed passes, but opportunities on set pieces too. That's an area where they can get better. Good delivery here. They have some big bodies in the box. Good movement off the ball.
Near power from Acosta this time, but he doesn't get it past Martinez. He'll get a second chance to deliver. Acosta took a slight deflection. Escobar not quite cleared on the first effort. Second effort gets it done. Heavy touch from Quintero. And does just cross the line there. Bello wanted to call it. Doesn't appear to be the foul given, but rather a throw in for the United States. Doesn't look a happy coach at the moment. Greg Berhalter his 40th match, to becoming just the 6th U.S. coach to reach that mark. Blasted forward. Given straight back by Musa.
It's a little bit on different pages. At times you'll see guys stepping out the press and then the movements and the cues haven't been recognized. And that's where you're seeing gaps now starting to appear. Movement off the ball has been good by Panama, creating little mismatches in midfield.
Davis. First touch, but a burst of acceleration from Shaq Moore to deny. Gondola. It's a concerted effort by Panama to get Freddy Gondola 1v1 against Shaq Moore on this near side. Martinez.
And conversely, the U.S. haven't done a good enough job of trying to get Paul Arriola or Tim Weah in similar situations going the opposite direction.
Here's Davis now. Early cross. Quintero couldn't quite settle in. McKenzie sending it away. And Tim Weah draws the foul against Martinez. Free kick for the United States from their own half. It's in the contrast in the approach from these two managers. The rotations, maybe by necessity or by luxury of Greg Berhalter and A young squad with, what, 21 U.S. players that have already made their World Cup qualifying debut in just this octagonal. Conversely, Panama using more or less the same nucleus of players time after time, and 3 of the players on the squad over 100 caps. 8 of the starters today part of the team that qualified to that historic first ever World Cup. The U.S. will play out through McKenzie. This was telegraphed by the Genk center back. Will get a second chance. And Bello will reset all the way back to Matt Turner. Pass it forward, looking for Tim Weah. Have a tendency to stretch defenses. League on champion with Lille.
And that's the first time you've seen the U.S. try one of those balls over the top to force Panama to face their own goal. They do well enough to deal with that, but there's going to be a lot of opportunities to play those kind of balls. Take some chances and play balls over the top. And let Tim Weah get into those spaces, because you're right. When he's running at a back line, the pace that he has, the technique that he has, the skill set he has, that's terrifying. We saw him do that when he came off the bench against Jamaica. The U.S. just have to figure out ways to get him involved in the game a little bit more.
Here's George Bello. Played as a wingback against Honduras when Berhalter had decided to change things up. The second half, absolutely brilliant for the United States, but it was Bello who took a lot of the criticism after that. This is lovely work by Musa. Driving forward now, Musa. Leggett. Options to aim for in the box, looking for Arriola. A little more threat in the air now from the United States, but Arriola not able to latch on.
Again, that's good by Musa, breaking lines with his dribbling. When the ball gets into the wide area, you might want another couple bodies in the box, but Paul Arriola drifts to that far post, and he's looking for a foul, feeling that he's getting dragged back there.
There's Murillo. Martinez. U.S. happy to keep them behind the ball. And Panama trying a more direct approach this time. It's knotted back somewhat awkwardly by McKenzie, but Turner was there to smother it. Shaq Moore. Third time wearing the captain's armband from the start for Walker Zimmerman, and it's a venomous ball fired into the area just beyond the reach of Tim Weah. It's quick thinking from McKenzie, but really giving Turner a heart attack. Quintero gets rid of it quickly. This is Gondola. Gondola in the battle with Musa. Martinez will chase it down. He's got Bello in front.
That's better by Musa. They're going to need more of that.
Murillo. Martinez, as Murillo gets in behind. Leggett. It'll be a corner kick for Panama.
We saw Greg talking to Shaq Moore, talking to Yunus Musa on that right-hand side, left-hand side for Panama, and just talking about the 2v1s that are being created at time. Musa does well to track back there and try to provide some cover. And you see Sebastian Leggett tracking the runner there, putting it up for the corner kick, but their ability to track runners out of midfield and through midfield are going to be so important in trying to slow up this Panamanian attack.
Just goes across the mouth of goal. And a little bit of panic at the back by Turner.
dealt with that one kind of awkwardly. I think it catches him a little bit off guard. He gets just enough on it.
Another corner for Panama. It's Joel Barcenas set to deliver. He's got Eric Davis short. Lifted in back post and slapped away by Turner. Well, twice now, directly from corner kicks. Panama creating a bit of danger.
It's a good in-swinging ball to the far post. Matt Turner trying to adjust with the bodies in front of him. Gets a strong right hand to it.
Defending these corners, giving a bit of trouble to the U.S. now, and steady dose of them from the Panamanians. Been short this time. Leggett is there to cut it out. Sent long by Mejia. Zimmerman winning virtually everything in the air on both sides of the pitch.
He's been good so far. He's been solid, as you mentioned, winning his challenges, putting out some fires. There's a lot of guys that need to step up in these moments now because it's been just a little bit sloppy from the U.S. Expectations for some individual players, it has to be a lot higher.
Musa.
You see him on the ball there. He's looking and looking for options. They haven't had that same kind of balance and joy to play out of the back that they had against Jamaica, whether it's movements off the ball or options becoming available or just the timing of passes.
Shaq Moore's pass looking for Ariola, doesn't quite make it. Gondola. Some misplaced pass that bails the U.S. out. They'll have a throw deep in Panama territory. Shaq Moore to get the ball back in play. A bit of a tangle there just outside the 18. This is going to go against Zardes. It's been on the margins of the game so far.
Jossie trying to get involved in the game. I mean, he hasn't had many touches thus far in this game, and part of that is the U.S. just haven't had any balls. They haven't had any legit spells of possession. They haven't been clinical with their passes. No real rhythm, no real build-up so far.
Gondola. Brought down by Moore. Was spotted by referee Ramos, who signals with the late whistle.
Off the ball challenge there, but Shaq Moore, he's got his hands full on that left-hand side for Panama. Gondola's been willing, and every time he gets the ball, he's looking at an opportunity to go at him, get in behind him, and try to get some service in the box. He's been a threat on that left-hand side so far for Panama.
So a half hour gone, and safe to see the U.S. have struggled to establish a rhythm. Remains 0-0. Left of Davis, the right of Barcenas from this angle. Davis. That's easy pickings for Turner. Mark McKenzie. It's the first time that McKenzie and Zimmerman start side by side. Played just twice together for the U.S. national team, combined 34 minutes in a couple of friendlies against Costa Rica and El Salvador. More to your point a moment ago, for Yazzie Zardes, just 5 touches through the opening half hour of this game. It's the fewest of any of the U.S. players. Murillo. Godoy. Defensively, Panama have really held their own in this attack. You know, they've only conceded twice. It's joint fewest of any of the 8 teams. Same defensive record as the U.S. so far. This is Bárcenas. Going to force his way through. Bárcenas draws the whistle. It'll be a free kick for Panama.
Just waiting for someone from the U.S. to really impose themselves, to take control of this game, whether it's, you know, putting in a challenge or just showing a little bit more urgency, a little bit more tempo.
Zardes. It's downhill football now from the U.S. Leggett. Bobbles against the Costos, dispossessed by Martinez, and here come the Canaleros again with Quintero. Leggett. It's Gondola on his left. Gondola is denied by Turner. It's a terrific save from point blank. But the goal would not have counted had it gone in. It appeared that Gondola was offside.
But it comes from a turnover. U.S. is in possession, but it's a poor touch from the Costa that lets him down, and then it's transition moment. Look at the commitment by Gondola to get forward. Quintero driving, and that's a close call there. Gondola does poorly, did not take the shot on a little bit earlier, but give credit to Matt Turner. He's not knowing it's offside. Strong right hand. When called upon, he makes a save. It was whistled for offside anyway, but the U.S., that's just too easy, causing their own problems with their lack of ability to progress the ball and just take clean touches in certain moments.
Good a time as any to remind that there is no VAR in these CONCACAF World Cup qualifiers. That flag would have been final, whatever Matt Turner was able to do to keep it out. Here's McKenzie. Just over 10 minutes remain in this first 45. Acosta. McKenzie. Matt Turner's been as progressive as any of the U.S. internationals when it comes to getting the ball into the Panamanian half.
But this is the moment where you need guys to stand up and be accounted for. You can't start hiding in these moments. You need to have players that are willing to take the ball. Yes, it's been a rough start for the U.S., but you got to get on the ball and make that next pass. That's how you get into a rhythm. That's how you get yourself going again.
Here's Arriola. Fine turn from Arriola. Does well to find Zardes. And the offside flag will come up against Yazzie.
See there, Jossie just coming back from an offside position again. That one is close. He might have been better suited to leave that ball there. Tim Way had made that run from outside to in, drawing his fullback in there.
Escobar. Murillo gets it forward. This is Quintero. Arriola getting in the way of the pass, and it's a positive turnover here for the United States. That's going to be Mejia who gets there first, taking no chances, puts it out for a U.S. throw.
Good press there, heavy touch.
It's been a recurring theme. Let's have the feeling of a game that's going to be changed on a mistake and who can capitalize on it.
Yeah, and I think you have to obviously have the context that the expectation with 7 changes, you're on the road now against this Panamanian side that's going to present different challenges. Playing at home, that it was going to be a struggle, but I just expected maybe just a little bit cleaner on the ball.
Moore has a goal, and it's always bending away. Maybe maybe out of frustration as much as anything. This is that earlier chances that Costa was just beaten to the ball by Martinez, and that released Quintero.
And he's been alive and busy for this Panamanian side. He's lining up on that right-hand side, but you see the positions he's taking up. He's all over the pitch, getting on the ball and being influential for Panama.
Oh, is it physical? Is it organizational? Is it lack of familiarity? The U.S. just a step slow in this first 45.
A little bit of all that, I would say. And it's not, and I'm just being honest with you, there's been...
Look out as Arriola makes the run in behind, and started wide by Mejia. The weak point is the offside flag would have denied him.
Of course, as I said, you make 7 changes, so you're trying to build relationships again. Tim Weah is now playing with George Bello on that left side, and then trying to form a partnership. Shaq Moore and Paul Arriola on this side. The dynamic and the rotations between Acosta, Yunus Musa, and Sebastian Lletget. You take a look at the ball over the top there. Tim Weah, one winger trying to spot the other. So there's going to be, of course, there's going to be a little period where you're trying to adjust and try to figure things out and get on the same pages. But just don't think we've seen the same kind of patterns of play that we saw in that first game, where guys are making the same runs, the same intent.
Fair to say that Brendan Aronson had a lot to do with some of those patterns of play, particularly in the second half as Godoy. Canadian crowd trying to will the Canaleros forward to ricochet onto the feet of Quintero. He spotted the run of Bárcenas, and there's Matt Turner at the near post. That was a dangerous delivery looking for the head of Gondola.
You see the movements off the ball. There's no one tracking the runner there. Bárcenas finds himself in acres of space. Doesn't pick up the right pass. A comfortable save in the end from Matt Turner, but you see the 2v1s just playing around George Bello, and that's when those alarm bells have to be going off. If you're in the number 6, if you're number 8 in that position, coming over, sliding over to help and provide some cover. But give credit to Panama. They've been up for the challenge. They've been their intensity has been higher. Their appetite to compete and try to play forward. Trying to play forward passes has been a theme that we've seen from them. They've been comfortable playing out of the back, and then when there's opportunities to play the ball forward, they don't hesitate in doing that.
That said, the most difficult stops for Matt Turner so far have come directly from corners. This is Quintero, really in trouble in an advanced area. Gondola. Davis. Now Martinez. And it's Quintero just poked free by Acosta. Whistled against Escobar, goes right through Zardes. 5 minutes to go in the first half, and any guesses into what Craig Berhalter's team talk might consist of in that locker room break?
Well, the U.S. haven't done a good enough job of trying to, coming into this camp, one of the things that we talked about was just the verticality, and we saw a lot of that against Jamaica. There haven't been enough times where these fullbacks have been put in a compromising position where they had to defend 1v1 in wide areas or test the center backs, have them turn and face their own goal. The ball movement has to be quicker, it has to be sharper, the rotations in midfield have to be better, and then again, the execution. Whether it's the first touch that you take, being willing to play forward passes.
It's clipped by Arriola. Really no chance for Zardes to win it. Cummings. There's Davis. And plenty of space for Quintero to pick out his options as he walks here against Zimmerman. Zardes spotted the runner of Arriola, chose not to use him. Musa. Bello. Zardes streaking into the area. It's just cut out by Escobar.
See the difference in the sharp pass, how that makes, what that makes. And that starts with the ball from Kellen Acosta. Good ball in, fizz into Chaucy Zardes, who does well to turn with it. You're right. He saw the run of Arriola, and I thought he was going to spring him through for a 1v1. He turns and keeps the ball moving, and Eventually they find the ball out to George Bello, who tries to put a ball in the box. That's a better sequence from the U.S. And it just starts with doing simple things, just playing between lines and playing well-weighted passes.
Seems to be Martinez and Quintero who are pulling the strings in midfield for Panama. Martinez in a slightly more withdrawn area. Back toward Quintero. Arriola there to intercept. Battle with Quintero. It was nice touch by the Swansea loanee. No, let's give it as a U.S. throw. Strong header from Cummings. It's sent back. Zimmerman, perhaps the only U.S. player that hasn't really put a foot wrong.
Let me look at and get into halftime, because this has been a flat performance from this U.S. side, and they'll want to put this half behind them, have a chance to rethink, regather themselves.
First, that'll require them to get into the locker room at 0-0. It's intercepted by Tim Weah. He's come a long way back in defense. Martinez working against Bello. More to hide the ball from the Atlanta fullback. This is Cummings. Cummings, the only piece of that back four that's not played every single one of these World Cup qualifiers for Panama in this octagonal. Final minute of first half normal time. Strong header by Zimmerman. It's collected by Shaq Moore. Spinning away by Turner now to Gondola, who has provided some threat. Quintero. Marcinez on his left. Well, it's slapped away by Turner, and it had to be as that ball was dipping.
He had to get a touch there because he started that playoff with the poor distribution on the back, and they just haven't been able to get close to players. You see him shaking his head. He's a little bit frustrated with the way this first half has gone for them collectively. It's been a task. It's been a shift that they've had to put in defensively. When it falls to Barcenas, it's a really good save there in the end. Strong left hand from Matt Turner.
This is Davis measuring up.
You see Tyler Adams down there, warming up right there by the cross, by the corner kick area.
Barcenas. It's a dangerous ball into the 6, and the header from Cummings is just tough target. They'll do it again from the same flag. It's the final few seconds tick off of this 1 minute added on. Swinger from Davis to the outside of the box. It's laid off by Murillo. It was out of the training ground for Panama, but not exactly how they've drawn it up. And that will do it for the opening 45 minutes. It's Panama who have come closest, but it remains 0-0.
Definitely not a memorable first half for this U.S. team. It's similar to what we saw on the road in Honduras the last cycle. Hopefully, they go into halftime, they get a good pep talk here, and they come out with a new sense of life. A little bit more urgency, a little bit more sharpness, being a little bit more polished when they have possession and taking care of the ball. They haven't threatened this back line yet enough, and I'm sure we'll see maybe a change or two at halftime. And if not, the players that are on the pitch have to take a little bit more ownership and responsibility in trying to do the simple things well.
Well, no one said it would be easy away to Panama, but at times the U.S. making it more difficult on themselves. Halftime in Panama City, it's Panama 0, USA 0. Well, for the 8th consecutive match, the U.S. Will kick off a second half looking for their opening goal, though. Moedu, I'm not sure it matters so much when you score them, as long as you outscore the opposition. 7 goals is the high for any of the teams in this octagonal. The U.S. have been more of a second half team, and perhaps the best is yet to come for Berhalter's men.
Well, I think U.S. soccer fans will be hoping we see something similar to what we saw in Honduras, but you're right. Don't care how the goals come. I think the one thing that you can take away from that first half, a positive, is Matt Turner made a couple of saves when we called upon, but more importantly, they kept a 0, right? Panama didn't score, although they had probably the more dangerous chances and got to the more dangerous areas of the pitch. The U.S. just have to come to life in the second half. You just need to see a spark, some kind of effort. You and I were talking, whether that's sometimes it's making a foul, showing that you're on the pitch, showing that you're up for the challenge physically, and that sometimes will get you kick-started and allow you to play.
All eyes on Cesar Ramos. Second half underway in Panama City with 2 changes for the United States. Tyler Adams has stepped in relief of Yunus Musa, and Paul Arriola makes way for Brendan Aronson. Panama 0, USA 0. And right away, Adams trying to make a statement, and he's won it back for the United States. Played almost every minute of this octagonal so far, Tyler Adams, after missing out on the Nations League in the summer. Swung in, looking for Zardes. Leggett already a little extra pep in the step of the United States. That'll be a free kick for Panama.
I mean, already, right? You see the impact of Tyler Adams, a small sample size, of course, but just that buzz, that little bit of buzz, stepping into a challenge, winning the ball, and then when he wins the ball, his first thought is, let's try to play forward. He sprays it out wide. You see the challenge there coming in. And then when he wins the ball back, though, his first thought is, can we get forward? Can we play a forward pass? And he gets it wide into a good area there. Quintero goes down in the challenge, coming in between himself, coming in between Tyler Adams and George Bello. But I want to see more of that. I want to see him bring that leadership that we've seen him with this team so far. Inspire this group, get them fired up. They're in for a game. This is going to be a challenge, of course, but I think they have the capabilities to get 3 points here. I said that in the pregame, and I genuinely believe that they can get 3 points here, but it starts with, first and foremost, showing that intensity.
Will be a Panama free kick to get things back underway. Jazzy Zarda is starting at the 9 today and replacing Ricardo Pepi. Had 11 touches in the first half, which is not unusual for a center forward, especially when the U.S. haven't been as proactive or playing as close to Mejia's goal. But it's the fact that none of those 11 were in the attacking third that is most telling about how that first half went for the United States. Stay onside. This is McKenzie. Adams. It's his leadership as well as his play that we expect to make a huge impact. The cross moving into the area, sent away by Murillo. By Turner. Zardes. Muscled off the ball by Davis. Panama did look fairly comfortable in the first half, though not particularly dangerous. Acosta. Now Adams. Just sparks of better possession early in this second half of the United States. Now Adams. Jet left it short, given away in danger all the way now for the Canaleros. Bárcenas. Goes down. A fair challenge in the view of the referee. This is Eriksson. Is tripped up by Fidel Escobar. Had one of the assists against Jamaica, did Brendan Eriksson. He's becoming one of the most important players for Berhalter. Still just 20 years old, but 11 appearances, 5 goals and 4 assists is a very good return for a talented player who recently drew a ton of praise from Thierry Henry.
He's done really well. He's become a really important part
More
of this U.S. team. Whether he's starting, whether he's coming off the bench, you just rattle off his numbers. That move for him to Salzburg has served him well, and I think he's shown a level of growth and confidence in his game.
It's unanticipated that time by Martinez. And again, Panama looking to break out of the counter. This is Gondola. Working against Zimmerman. Just see how Tyler Adams makes things a little more difficult, more uncomfortable for the ball carrier. Gondola. Bello not quite cleared. Bárcenas is whistled for the foul as he just catches Leggett. Didn't really see him, but foul nonetheless.
And he gets a little bit lucky there because he heads that right back into the mix. Instead of heading that wide or taking a touch and going wide with it, he puts it right back centrally, and Bárcenas is stepping in, trying to get the strike on Sebastian Leggett, recovering there, gets his foot to the ball first, and it's Bárcenas who swings right through him. You see the clearance from Bello back into a dangerous area. And Bárcenas just swings through, catches Leggett as he makes that initial touch there to just nick the ball away from him.
Leggett essentially putting out a fire because Bárcenas had every intention to shoot from the edge of the box. Zimmerman gets it away quickly to Acosta. Again, it's Tyler Adams now helping to organize things. The Jet. Moore rolls it back toward Tyler Adams. Billy Cross was looking for the run of Sebastian Leggett. Showing a little too much of the ball to Harold Cummings. More advanced position as well now for Shaq Moore. Back heel doesn't come off for Martinez.
Finds himself in a really good area. Does well to attack that space, but then you're right, it's the heavy touch that allows Cummings to come into the play and make that challenge. And one thing that we saw in the game against Jamaica was the relationships between fullback and winger and how much they were on the same page, how well they found each other, and they got their spacing right. Didn't see much of that in this first half. Hopefully we see a little bit more now. Brendan Eriksson comes into the game, and that pushes him way to the right. So now, how quickly can himself and
look out as Tyler Adams putting out all kinds of fires.
How quickly can they establish a little understanding? Shaq Moore and Tim Weah, George Bello and Brendan Eriksson on this left-hand side now.
It looks as though Christensen will respond with a substitution of his own. It's Alfredo Stevens who's preparing to check in. The U.S. have managed to wrestle back some control in this match, but they've got defending to do now as Davis calibrates. Dangerous ball in, and it sneaks in. Zardes just getting in the way of Matt Turner, and it's the opening goal for the Canaleros. Panama 1, USA 0. Twice, Panama had threatened with near Olympic goals. And on the third time, this one does just sneak in. It's Godoy who's claiming it.
It looks like it's an
Last
own
touch by
goal.
Zardes.
Yeah, it looks like it's an own goal, but the warning signs were there in the first half on set pieces, on corner kicks, the in-swinging balls. They do a good job of getting bodies in front of Matt Turner. And you see, it looks like it comes off Godoy. He makes the initial contact, and then it checks a deflection off of Jossie Zardes and redirects it into the goal. But set pieces were a problem in the first half. Gotta say, this kind of comes against the run of play because the U.S. has started a little bit brighter in the second half. But what a goal and what a moment for Panama. You see the reaction of the fan base there and the celebrations. This is a wake-up call for the U.S. now. How do they respond going down a goal on the road against a Panamanian side that showed no fear of them whatsoever in this match?
Well, 10 minutes into this second half, and a difficult task just got a little bit harder for the United States, now trailing a goal to nil. Leggett. Aronson. He's able to find Bello inside. Zardes, and Bello was upended right in front of the referee. It'll be a free kick from a dangerous spot in favor of the U.S. If the ball is headed goal-bound off of the head of Anibal Godoy, then you could understand the captain getting credit for it. If it's not, and it's Zardes instead who sends it in, and it will be an own goal. Panama set to make their first substitution. As the U.S. look for an immediate response. And all that positivity from these first 10 minutes evaporated in an instant. Three on the wall for Mejia, as Phil Stevens does finally check in. Acosta going for goal, and always bending away from that top corner. Is it a deserved scoreline, despite the strangeness of the goal?
It is. I think that this Panamanian side, as I said, they've shown.
They're looking for a second now through Bárcenas. McKenzie scrambles back. Quintero. The battle with Brendan Aronson. It's Aronson who really comes away with possession. It's won back by Martinez. Put into space and a little tangle just at the edge of the area. By the way, just as that goal was going in for Panama, here's Mexico. It also just scored. They lead Honduras a goal to nil in their contest, and while the U.S. chasing the game in Panama City as the hour mark approaches. It'll be a throw for Canada, excuse me, for Panama.
There's another look at the goal, and it's Anibal Godoy who rises high, rises early, just gets that glancing header, sneaking into that near post. And you said, is this scoreline reflecting the play that we've seen so far? Yeah, Panama has been the better side. In the crucial moments, they've shown up. Set pieces are moments where it's about individual efforts. It's about being committed, winning your individual duels. They put a dangerous ball in the box, and then they're the first ones there. They're the ones that are more committed to doing the dirty running, to getting themselves in good positions and winning those duels, winning those challenges. Godoy does a good job there and puts his side up.
Confirmation that it is Gondola, whose first World Cup qualifying start ends. This one cleanly by Godoy. It's a very ambitious hit from the Nashville midfielder. Francisco Cordova, who Scored after just 18 minutes for Mexico. He has El Tri up a goal to nil at home against Honduras, while Costa Rica with 2 quick-fire goals. Brian Ruiz and Celso Borges. Second of those from the spot. They lead El Salvador 2-1. It's won by Cummings. Panamanians have been buoyed by that opening goal. Murillo. Bárcenas. It's a more advanced position for the Jets since the substitutions.
Yeah, almost looking like a 4-4-2 at times, how high up the pitch he is. But look, we've seen this U.S. team go down on the road against Honduras. And that second half, they made some real changes in terms of personnel, and they got back into that game. I'm looking to see some kind of response here. Take some chances, play some balls. This is a good ball here.
This is one for Brendan Aronson. Dagger ball back, and sliding in was Escobar to deny. It'll be a corner for the U.S.
But play some forward pass, some forward-thinking passes. Whether that's balls in behind like that one or balls over the top where you can pick up the second ball and now you're on the front foot attacking. Brendan Aronson, you expect him to be a guy that's going to bring that spark as well as Tyler Adams coming into the game. Get him in positions where he can operate and try to play forward and be creative in that final third. We haven't seen much creativity yet.
So an hour in the rear view and a half hour to change this. Acosta. Dangerous ball in, a push onto the back of Walker Zimmerman from Godoy as the 2 club teammates come together. Zimmerman pleading his case, but nothing has been given, and there's no VAR to have a second look.
That's actually really good service there from Acosta. First half set pieces weren't that great. This one was actually a good ball in, so I got a good height, and it looks like Zimmerman is in stride. A little bit of hands on the back there from Godoy. Referee not deeming it enough to call for a penalty kick there.
Raffled forward and knocked down by Zimmerman. Ball always comes away from Tyler Adams better than it arrived. Zard is trying to bring it under his control. Murillo. Fancy feet in front of Sebastian Lletget. He's picked out a good pass as well for the fresh legs of Stevens. Pitch in fairly good condition despite the heavy rains throughout all of yesterday. Bárcenas. Lining with Martinez. Bárcenas with space to deliver across near post. Blackburn got to it. Just could not redirect.
Starting to hear the olays from the fans. Good combination play here. Then again, it's Panama who's first to winning the second balls.
Bello. Finding a little space inside George Bello in this second half. This is Shaq Moore now. More advanced posture from both of the fullbacks. Sent away by Bárcenas.
The key there is when Bello does come inside, they still have to have someone providing that width. So if Aronson is starting centrally and Bello's driving centrally as well, that's when Aronson has to just pick and choose his moments, and his timing has to be right to just fan out to that left-hand side, look for that little slip ball in there, and on the opposite side too. Again, just talking about the balance between Moore and Tim Way on this side.
Worth noting the last 3 times the U.S. have conceded first, they have managed to battle back to win it. Acosta. Moore squeezes the cross in. Left it just behind Zardes. It'll be a throw for Panama. Gianluca Busio among those that are warming up, but we're going to see what looks to be a triple substitution now from Greg Berhalter, including the very much informed Ricardo Pepi. Couldn't keep it in play, but this should allow for the U.S. to make this substitution. on. It's well covered by Zimmerman. Adams. He's well in traffic. This is Bello. Aronson. The blind pass, tried to play from memory. Oh, switch and a good one near side for Quintero. Space to consider his options, Quintero. Murillo. Good hesitation to get past Aronson. It's Martinez. Puts it out for a throw. There's a Panamanian player down. The captain, Aníbal Godoy. 25 minutes left.
And look at the personnel that we saw lining up there on the sideline for the U.S. Greg's looking to go back onto what happened in Honduras. We brought Christian Roldan on. We saw him on the sideline. We saw DeAndre Yedlin. And we saw, of course, Ricardo Pepi hoping to try to take advantage of the movement on that right-hand side with Roldan coming on and trying to maybe make some runs in behind, get some link-up play there, and get some service. Gyasi Zardes has had most of his touches in deeper areas of the pitch. He hasn't had much to try to feast on inside the box.
Meanwhile, it's Quintero who's going to take over the captain's armband for Panama as Godoy is stretchered off. 110 caps for Aníbal Godoy, one of the heroes of the nation's first ever World Cup Finals campaign. Still waiting to make their introduction, the trio of Roldan, Yedlin, and Pepi. So Ricardo Pepi will step in, and that ends the outing for Gyasi Zardes, who is making his first World Cup qualifying start since March of 2016, and his first ever in a finals. Of course, he'll end up on the poster for the Panamanian 1-0. Shaq Moore will make way for DeAndre Yedlin. Veteran presence, Yedlin in this USA squad. While Roldan will step in for Timothy Weah, who's just finished off his first ever World Cup qualifying start. Just over 20 minutes left of normal time. A triple change means the U.S. have exhausted all 5 substitutions. It's won by Bárcenas. Quintero.
Dre, you talked about him exhausting his substitutions. That's his signal of intent. He's going for it here. Does it leave them exposed a little bit in the later stages if they pick up an injury or yellow or a red card or something, or a yellow card something along those lines? But look, you have to go for it. Talked about this being a potential to get 3 points. Well, now you're just searching for that 1 point, which I think people would have taken and been happy with coming into this game on the road.
Meanwhile, the double switch for the home side, including Armando Cooper, who will check in to replace the captain, while Eduardo Guerrero is ready to check in as well. It's Armando Cooper, who started his career as a wide player, has been used predominantly in central midfield. The veteran with now 119 caps. Adams not really put a foot wrong. This was given away by Roldan, but just seems to find Tyler Adams. Pepi, first touches for the teenager. Leggett lifted toward the edge of the area. Roldan losing his balance. Yedlin just caught by the knee of Eric Davis. It's Ricardo Pepi looking for the angle. Well, he doesn't need a second invitation to shoot.
Starts by winning that second ball. A little bit of fortune the way it falls, but Ricardo Pepi, as you said, doesn't need a second thought about it. He's in the 18 and tries to sneak it into that far post.
So it was like-for-like substitutions for Panama. Cooper replacing Godoy and Guerrero taking over from Blackburn. Foul whistled against McKenzie. Panama do still have 2 substitutions available and 1 window in which to make them. Pepi, of course, has just stormed out of the gate in his international career. Goals in both of his first 2 caps, 3 in fact. Here's Adams. Early pass was intended for Pepi, an FC Dallas striker. By the way, the first score in his first 2 international appearances for the U.S. since Eddie Johnson did it back in 2004. Remember, EJ got off to a really hot start. He scored in 4 straight games to kick off his international career, 6 goals in total.
Ooh, I remember that. Came in, took the scene, just stole the scene, and turned heads the way that he played and his effectiveness.
Just Leggett fit into space for Aronson. He's just run out of real estate. Eddie Johnson's second game, he scored a hat-trick against Panama. It's a 6-0 World Cup qualifying win.
Could use that right now.
You know, Berhalter played in that game. Oguchi Onyewu scored. He'll tell you all about it.
Oh, Willie.
Got taken away and put as an own goal. It was his debut.
It's probably the right call.
Bárcenas. Stevens. Panama trying to take a little air out of the ball. They know that clock is the ally at the moment for the home side, up a 1-0. Zimmerman continues to dominate in the aerial duels. Pepi. Roldan is tripped up, but it's incidental contact. It's knocked down for Martinez. Murillo. Shot through the legs of Aronson. Bárcenas, a clever pass for Stevens. Leaving their passes nicely to the edge of the area. And Guerrero couldn't pull the trigger. Leggett is tripped up, collapsed on by a trio of defenders.
You see how many bodies they get around the ball pretty quickly, and then if the U.S. can just move the ball a little bit quicker, trying to play through those seams, and when you take that extra touch, Panama's committed. See Cummings stepping out, Eric Davis, excuse me, stepping out of that from that left fullback position, coming a little bit more narrow.
Bello, just out of the reach of Pepi. Neat touch by Cooper to get it away from Aronson. One back by McKenzie. Adams using his body well, and he invites the contact from Christian Martinez. At this point, would you take the 1 point if you can find an equalizer?
Oh, yeah, the way this game's going, for sure. They'd be lucky to get that 1 point. I mean, there haven't been many sequences or moments that have shown me that this team is goal dangerous in this game. Ricardo Pepi comes on and tries that shot from inside the box, and
lifted forward by Leggett for Bello. And a microcosm of the last 75 minutes.
So, yes, I would take a point right now.
over a quarter of an hour remains of normal time. Adams. Zimmerman put in an awkward position. Acosta's back pass. And it's Kellen Acosta, dispossessed by Cooper. Guerrero absorbed the contact well. And that will be a free kick for the U.S. as Alfredo Stevens sliding in with a dangerous tackle.
It's a really late challenge. Kellen Acosta is just quicker. Stevens commits himself. Puts himself into a dangerous challenge. Studs exposed there. Doesn't catch him with the studs, but definitely worthy of a yellow card there. Might have injured himself in the process.
He was one of the substitutions. In fact, the first coming on for the Gondola. Back in the 56th minute. Costa getting some attention as well. The U.S. have exhausted all of their subs, and there's the game's first yellow card. Your assessment of the second half for the U.S. so far?
Yeah, I mean, a lot similar to the first half. I think there's been a little bit more intention to try to play forward. Tyler Adams has come in, and you see the importance that he has to this team. Just the drive, the way that he lifts the players around him in certain ways. Brenden Aaronson's trying to find ways to get on the ball. This goal is deflating for a group that tried to start the second half off well, and then you concede on a set piece where there were warning signs in the first half. That took a big chunk out of this team, but
that was the third time in this match that Panama had sent the corner flying in close to Matt Turner. The previous two were slapped away by Turner. This one was touched by not just Godoy, but Godoy and Zardes on the way in. Roldan. Well done by Davis to take it away. Good work by Cooper. Yedlin overcommitted. Quintero. And Guerrero will reset the possession as Panama have the U.S. chasing the scoreboard and the ball. Murillo. Worth noting that Panama have never beaten the U.S. in World Cup qualifying. They have held them to draws twice at this Ramon Fernandez Stadium. Once in the lead up to Russia 2018. Work from Bello.
It just feels like in this game, in this second half too, there's been too many times where the U.S. are just on different pages. Guys driving with the ball, looking for a run to get, or looking for a play to get the ball wide, then there's no whip. Guys occupying similar spaces and just trying to still establish something in wide areas of the pitch. I think that's where they can still exploit this team, whether that's getting George Bello higher up the pitch at times and connecting with Brenden Aaronson, or on that right-hand side, you have fresh legs and two players in DeAndre Yedlin and Christian Roldan. How can they find ways to combine a little bit more and get some balls in the box? Give Pepe something to try to attack and get his head on the end of, or just get a touch on.
Costa retreating to Zimmerman. Here's Roldan. Back heel taking a bit of a ricochet. So March 2017, at this very stadium, Clint Dempsey scored the opener for the U.S. That turned out to be a 1-1 draw. Before that, the only other time that the U.S. dropped points in Panama in World Cup qualifying, all the way back in 2004. And that one took a 91st minute equalizer for Kobe Jones to level it for the Americans.
The U.S. just dodged a huge bullet right there. Luckily, the ball gets turned over, but this whole left side was exposed. One pass, and Panama would have been off to the races.
Kenzie. Adams under pressure from Quintero, who's taking it away. McKenzie's there. fire hose in hand. Plenty of space here for Kelly Acosta to consider his options, and still it's sent straight at Canelo. It's a collision of heads here, and so referee Ramos calling for the medical team to come have a look.
You know, part of this game is you have to give credit to Panama because of the way that they've come out and said, as you see the coming together of heads there between Kellen Acosta and Armando Cooper. But you have to give credit to Panama. They've come into this game recognizing that they're playing at home after what was a disappointing performance for them against on the road in El Salvador, and they've come in. You know, these games against the U.S. have so much more meaning for a lot of these teams. They come in, this is U.S., Mexico, those are the measuring sticks for teams in this region. So they're always going to raise their level. They know that if they compete, if they're physical, if they're hard in the challenge, if they win that side of it, then there might be opportunities for them to actually play some good football. But Panama's, they've been comfortable on the ball. They've done a good job with their spacing, making the pitch big, the wingers coming inside, fullbacks getting higher up the pitch at times, and then just being sharper. Sharper when they get opportunities, sharper with their passes.
Seems to be some real concern there for Kellen Acosta after that collision. You see there's nothing intentional about it. Cooper just turning, doesn't see Acosta, who in turn doesn't see him. Maybe just opening up a gash just on the side of the forehead.
And I'm sure, you know, you've said it here. Panama's never beat the U.S. in qualifying, and so that'll be another chip that they have on their shoulder. We need to prove a point. This is a team that's going through somewhat of a transitional period and have a lot of guys, a lot of experienced players, trying to introduce some newer, younger players as well. But a team that, when you talk about not rotating players, I think part of that is because they maybe don't have the same depth, but then there is an element of the continuity, keeping guys together, getting them familiar with each other for occasions like this. Can they rise and take some momentum after what's been a good 82 minutes for them in this game?
It's a Panama team that had used the same exact 11 for the first 3 games during that September window, and then made just 2 changes to the 11 for this one from the side that lined up in that 1-0 loss to El Salvador. Clear sign from Christensen that he prefers that consistency. At times we've seen what it is that the Panamanian fans really love about what he's brought to this national team. They're comfortable on the ball, fluid in their passing. Seems like both players have had a gash open up, Acosta bandaged up, and they're still working on Cooper. Meanwhile, that's Cesar Yanis, 25-year-old who's on loan in 2nd Division Zaragoza in Spain, preparing to check in. And you just wonder now how much time will be added on after this injury stoppage. Only 7 minutes remain of normal time. It's a strange goal that saw the Panamanians take the lead, and as you mentioned, Mo, it was at a point where the U.S. were in the ascendancy.
You started to think that, okay, this introduction, these 2 changes have come on, this is gonna bring some life into this team, but it's been much of the same in the second half, and you just haven't seen enough urgency from enough guys on this team. Passing, I mean, some of the passes that have gone awry, that have led to transition moments for Panama, that have been turnovers, just really uncharacteristic from a lot of the guys that we see on the pitch today.
Perhaps a little further cause for concern. We did see Walker Zimmerman being stretched out there as maybe a sign that he could be cramping up. No bandaging required for Armando Cooper, who's back on his feet, and these Panamanian fans have had plenty to celebrate over the course of these 85 minutes. I mentioned at the top of the broadcast that final match day in the lead up to the 2014 World Cup in Brazil, Panama were relatively in control. They were on their way there. Then Graham Suzy scores a stoppage time goal to knock them out and essentially become the patron saint of Mexico soccer, as El Tri were the beneficiaries of it. The U.S. actually scored twice in stoppage time in that game. Murillo. Bello flex. Pepe coming a long way back to get involved. Which means there's no one there to get on the end of that direct pass.
There's a pass that's kind of going. You know, the thing coming into this game, one of the things that Greg said after the win against Jamaica that, I mean, I think stuck with everyone was the fact that they can't read too much into that success, right? That if they come out and they're flat against Panama, you know what to expect from this Panamanian team, that they're going to kick their backsides, right? And I think we've seen that just from a competing standpoint, from a competitive level, from a desire to, who wants this game more. Sometimes it comes down to some things that simple. Who's up for it? This US side they haven't been up for it.
Zimmerman short on options, picks the safest one. Acosta. Flung forward. It was Roldan who was closest to it, but Davis won it. It's Guerrero battling past DeAndre Yedlin. And there's Adams once more to clean up. Pepe leaves it for Roldan, who is upended from behind. It's Christian Martinez who commits the foul and instantly goes to ground.
It's a foul he had to make as well, because this was actually a good sequence here. Pepe linking up with Roldan. He has his head up, looking to play that next pass. It's Brendan Aronson who's coming in off that left-hand side, and Martinez recognizes that and throws his body on the line.
Had gotten up without any bad bandaging and has reappeared with the all red over the head. Well, Martinez is slow to get up. It was a set piece that saw Panama take the lead in the 54th minute. And the U.S. respond in kind. Not the most encouraging record. Flashing at the top of your screen there is U.S. have lost 26 World Cup qualifiers when conceding first out of 34.
This is the gamesmanship you see in CONCACAF. He's not just needing to stretch, not needing just to get a stretch, but he has his whole boot off there.
He went down because of the contact, is being stretched out because of a potential cramp, but is missing his left boot as well.
And then you saw Quintero trying to wave off the stretcher coming on as well.
We'll see the last two substitutions made by Christensen. Yanis has been preparing for a while to check in. He'll be joined by the midfielder Abdi Layarza. So Yarza would step in for Martinez. And Yanis comes in relief of Alberto Quintero. Two of the conductors for Panama over the course of this match. Martinez and Quintero make way. Garza, one of the more heavily criticized players after that 1-0 defeat to El Salvador. Costa lifting it in toward the penalty spot. It falls for Pepe near side. Pepe taken away by Bárcenas. Well, did just manage to stay in, and somehow Pepe is the man over the ball. McKenzie didn't hear the footsteps, and the fresh legs of Ayala took it away. Panama on the break. Took a little deflection off of Acosta. Guerrero trying to slide it through. Roldan. Tripped up by Cooper. Free kick for the U.S. Only 30 seconds remain of the 90 minutes, but we do suspect there will be plenty of added time. It's a fragile lead, just 1-0 for Panama, but the U.S. have not done much to disturb Mejia in goal. And precious time continues to tick off. 7 minutes added on. We'll play till at least the end of the 97th. And Panama in no rush to get things back underway.
This is where you got to start getting some balls forward. Play direct and try to win some second balls. Get some service in the box.
Turner. Still Panama trying to create numerical advantages on the attacking end. Kenzie looking over at Tyler Adams because he feels he's a bit isolated in defense.
Yeah, Walker Zimmerman staying half the pitch, and I'm not sure if that's to try to win some of these second balls, or is it more so you talk about him being stretched? Is he struggling a little bit?
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
See him laboring there, and we mentioned earlier, 5 subs have already been used, so there's no chance of getting another body on to replace him.
Roldan's cross is tipped, held on to by Mejia, who really hasn't touched the ball much. See how much this means, how much every point means in World Cup qualifying octagonal. The entire bench of Panama was up and essentially playing the cheerleader role, trying to get this crowd into it to carry them over the finish line. They were forced to come out. Quite cleared by Cummings, and he goes out for a USA corner kick. It's a lifeline for the Americans.
They got to make something out of this. And it starts with good delivery. It's been so inconsistent in this match, especially.
Costa outswinger near post. Stevens who arrived. Adams using his body well against Yanis. Go for Panama. Eric Davis will take his time to put this back in play. A free kick as the foul is whistled against DeAndre Yedlin. Philo Stevens, the only player booked in this match, is asking for a yellow card for Yedlin. Cooper will take it to the corner flag. And it's going to be a goal kick for Turner. Nearly half of the 7 minutes have already gone. And that's a poor ball by Turner. Bello forced to scramble back. Clearly, Zimmerman is not okay. He doesn't even challenge for that last aerial ball. And the U.S. having already made all of their substitutions, there's no chance to bring anyone on in relief. Low kick for Mejia. He'll take his time.
Look what it means to the Panamanian fans. They're going absolutely nuts over there.
A couple of gone final. Costa Rica beating El Salvador 2-1 after El Salvador scored first. And Jamaica-Canada has also gone final. That's 0-0 after 90 minutes. All right, we'll listen to this crowd and listen to what it means to them. Bárcenas. Aronson just managing to keep it in. Last touched by Ayarza. Precious few minutes left for the U.S. to change the narrative and the point total. So pitch invader in. A lot of the spare balls have gone missing down this final stretch of the match. 2 minutes still left of the 7 added on. That 7 is a minimum. And not 1, but 2. Invaders making it onto the pitch. Restart the draw ball. Panama on the verge of a first ever World Cup qualifying victory over the United States. And it's coming on the anniversary of the most famous win in Panamanian history. It's the second ball on the pitch. This is Guerrero. That's McKenzie. It'll be a throw for the Panamanians deep in USA territory. Of course, after this one game left in this October window, Day 6, the United States returning home to take on Costa Rica in Columbus. Panamanians will travel to BMO Field in Toronto to take on Canada. Just a total of 5 shots for the U.S. and again have not really troubled Mejia.
I don't remember him making a save.
No, there's no shots on target. Throw for the U.S. Well, on the anniversary of the most famous night in Panamanian soccer history, when 4 years ago they clinched a first ever World Cup Finals, now a famous win over the United States, a first for the Canaleros. The goal by Aníbal Godoy in the 54th minute, enough to make it Panama 1, USA 0, as the Americans suffer their first defeat of the octagonal.
And it's a good response from Panama. After going on the road and losing the first game of this window to El Salvador, to have the response, and this just shows you the importance of home games across the board. They took advantage of playing on their home soil in front of their home fans. They came out with passion. They came out with energy. They came out with the level and the edge to their game that the U.S. was lacking. This was a flat performance from them. We thought that the second half changes might bring a spark to this team and bring some life, but when you talk about chances created, there weren't enough dangerous chances. When you talk about individual battles and individual duels, individual performances, there weren't enough guys that had solid